Hello and welcome once again to Let's Start Cooking. I'm Wayne and today it's all about chocolate. We're going to be making a tiramisu truffle. But before we get started, I'd like to take this time to thank everybody that has subscribed to my channel. But I have noticed that 70% of the people that are watching are not subscribing to the channel. So if you could do me a great favor and just hit that subscribe button and help us reach that 1,000 subscriber goal that we're after right now. And with that being said, let's get on with what we're gonna do today. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start with a half a cup of heavy whipping cream, and to that we're gonna add espresso powder. And I'm gonna have the ingredients listed in the description as usual. What we wanna do is we're just gonna add our heavy whipping cream right to a small pot. And we're not gonna boil this, we just wanna heat this up till you just start to see the bubbles around the side. And we're just gonna add our espresso powder, and the espresso powder you can find in the baking section. It's designed for baking, and we're just going to mix this up. And again, we just want to heat this up, and we don't want to boil this. We just want to heat it up till we just start to see bubbles form around the outside of the pan. Once you get these bubbles like this, we want to take this off the heat, and we're just going to let this cool down now. We're going to let this sit for about 10 minutes. Once we let our cream and our espresso cool down, all we're going to do is we're going to add it to 2 cups of white chocolate chips. White chocolate chips. We're just going to take it and we're just going to add it right in. Try to get as much. Now, if you see and you notice that you have some of the espresso left over, if it didn't dissolve all the way, you can run this through a sieve. Now, I didn't have to do that because mine dissolved all the way, but if you do, it's not going to hurt if you do get any in it. We're just going to take that just a little bit, and what we want to do now is you can either put this over a double boiler, or you can put it in the microwave. And what we're going to do is we're going to mic this about 10 seconds at a time. We don't want this to melt completely in the microwave because it's going to go like all of a sudden it's going to look like it's not melted, then all of a sudden it's going to be completely melted. So go 10 seconds at a time. So we'll get this in the microwave and we'll get this melted down. Once we get this melted down to where we're almost smooth, because we didn't want to melt it completely because the heat of this chocolate is actually going to melt the rest of the way. But once we get this melted down to where we want it, all we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to add a half a teaspoon of salt. And we're going to add a 1/4 cup of mascarpone cheese. We're just going to mix this in, get it started. And then we're going to take our whisk and we're going to whisk it up the rest of the way. And we're going to keep doing this until we get it nice and smooth again. And once we get this all smoothed out, we're going to put this in a freezer because we want this to set up and get really, really hard now. So we're going to put this in the freezer for 2 hours. I mean, if you can even put this in overnight, it's not going to hurt it, but the minimum of 2 hours. So we're going to get this stirred up nice and smooth. Like we have now. And we're going to put this in the freezer for 2 hours, and after 2 hours, we'll be back and we'll make our truffles. Okay, it's been about 2 hours. We've had these setting up, and as you can see, it's pretty solid. And that's what we want because we're gonna have to make 1-inch balls out of these, and we're gonna set them and we're gonna let them go back in the freezer, but we don't want them to fill out too quick while we're working with them. So you can use a spoon. I have a melon baller. Either way, it's all right. But what we wanna do is we just wanna take enough, and we wanna get about a 1-inch ball. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take it, and we're just gonna roll it right in our hands. And I mean, they're not gonna come out perfect if you wanna try to make them perfect, but about 1 inch. That's about all you want. And we're just gonna put them on a tray and parchment paper. And we're just gonna roll out. You should get about 20, 40s. You might get a little more, you might get a little less, depending on the size you wanna do. But all we're gonna do is we're just gonna take them, and we're gonna roll them all up. And like I said, if you don't have enough, just get a little bit more and put it all together. But you want them about 1 inch. And we're just gonna roll them up. And if they start to get a little too soft on you, you can always put it back in the freezer and let it get a little harder again. but we're just gonna roll them up. And we're just gonna put them on a tray, and we're just gonna finish this all up. So we'll get all these rolled up, and then we'll be right back. Once we get them all rolled out, you can end up with anywhere between 24 to 30, depending on how big you make them or how small. And it's going to be really sticky. So like I said, you might have to wash your hands a couple times. You might have to put it back in the freezer to let it chill again. But once you get them all done and we put them on a tray on some parchment paper, we're going to put these back in the freezer for about 30 minutes so they get nice and set up again. Because now the next time they come out, we're going to dip them in chocolate. So we'll get these back in the freezer for 30 minutes. Okay, we're back. We've had them in the freezer for about 30 minutes. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take some white chocolate, and this is about a cup and a half. And to that, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of oil. You can use vegetable oil, coconut oil, just don't use olive oil. And we're just going to add that right to our vanilla chips. And again, you can either put this in a double boiler, and you can heat this up, or you can put it in the microwave for about 10-15 seconds at a time until we get this nice and melted. So we'll get this melted, and I'll be right back. Now that we've had them in the freezer for about a half hour and we've melted our white chocolate, all we're going to do now is we're going to take them individually and we're just going to drop them right in. And we're going to take a spoon and we're just going to dip the chocolate all over them. And again, obviously you don't want all this chocolate on because they're going to end up being really thick. But you want to make sure you get them all covered, and wherever you touch, again, and we're just going to take them and we're just going to place them right on parchment paper. And we're just going to do a couple at a time. I'm just going to roll it around. And like I said, there's not really any talent to it. You just want to make sure it's all covered the best you can. I mean, being that it is chocolate, it's going to want to stick to everything. We're just going to take them, put them like that. See if I can get it off without it sticking. And while you have it like that, what we're going to do, for the vanilla ones, coated ones, we're going to take dark chocolate, and we're just going to kind of go right over them. And of course you're going to make more mess than you get on, but you just want to coat them a little bit. I would have done this in a dish and just sprinkled on, but it has a tendency to stick to everything. So we're just going to take them and just put a little bit of chocolate on them. All right. And you might have to put this back in once in a while just to make sure it stays nice and smooth for you and you can still work with it. And we're going to do about 8 of these. We don't want to do them all unless you want them all the white chocolate, but we're going to do 8 to 10 each, and then that way we can change it up. And we're going to put something else on the next 2. But that's all you want to do. It's not rocket science. We're just going to put them on. Like I said, it might be a little bit thick to start with, but we'll get them all coated. We'll get these coated. We'll get these covered with chocolate. And like I said, if it starts to stiffen up when you feel like it's not working too well, just put it back in the microwave. About 10 seconds, it'll smooth it right out for you again. Just drop them right on parchment paper. And if you want, before they cool down too much, like I said, you can just take this and sprinkle right on the top. If you like more chocolate, put more chocolate on it. If you don't, you don't have to. We'll get these done, and then we'll continue on with the next ones. Now that we have the white ones done, we put them in the freezer, and we're going to let them chill for about 30 minutes. And now we're going to take, and we're going to make 2 different kinds of chocolate ones. We're going to melt some chocolate, and then we're going to cover them with ladyfingers, crushed ladyfingers. If you don't have ladyfingers, vanilla wafers do the same thing. And then we're going to take the other half, and we're going to actually roll them in just cocoa powder. So we'll get our chocolate melted, and we'll get the other ones out of the freezer. Once we get our chocolate melted to where we want, we're going to get the other ones out of the freezer. Now that they're cold, what we're going to do is we're going to take half of these, dip them in chocolate, and we're going to put a little bit of sprinkle of ladyfinger on top. I mean tiramisu without ladyfingers. And then we're going to take the other half and we're going to roll them just in cocoa powder. So we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We're just going to drop them right in. I'm just going to mix them around a little bit. Try Try to get a little bit of the chocolate off. I mean, you're not going to get it all off. I'm just going to drop them right on. And we're just going to keep right on going until we get about half of these done. And that's all we want to do. We just want to drop them one like that. And before they really start to set up, if you see that they're starting to get a little dull in color, that means they're starting to harden up and they're starting to set up. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to put your sprinkle on top so make sure it sticks. So we're just going to drop them off. And what I'll do is I'll do like 3 at a time. And I'll just take some crushed ladyfingers that I did. And again, like I said, if you don't have ladyfingers, you can use Nilla wafers. And we're just going to put a little bit of top. That's all. You don't have to go nuts with it. And we're just going to continue on. And we'll get all these done. And the other ones, we'll show you real quick with those, and then we can finish them all up for you. We're just going to drop these on. Okay. And for the other ones, we're just going to take one, and we're just going to take it right in there, and we're just going to roll it. And all these are going to be is just rolled in cocoa powder. That's all. That's all we do with them. We just roll them in cocoa powder. And you want to try to, like, I don't want to say hurry. You don't have to hurry, but you want to get these done and get them back in the freezer so they set up. And being that this is baking cocoa powder, it's not going to be real sweet. So you don't want to go like coating the heck out of them because you're not going to like the taste of them. They're going to be really bitter. We have them all coated, and now we're going to just put them in the freezer for about 30 minutes. We just want them to set back up before we actually put them on a plate. So we'll get these back in the freezer, and we will see you in about 30 minutes. We have them all done. They've all been chilling out in the freezer for about a half hour. They're all nice and chilled now. And as you can see, we made the ones with the ladyfingers, we made ones with just cocoa powder, and we made the white chocolate, and we covered them a little bit dark chocolate. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take one, and we're just going to cut it in half. And as you can see, the inside. And we're just going to cut it in half again. The first thing you get is a big hit of that coffee, that espresso. It's sweet, the ganache is really soft, and it melts in your mouth. And like I said, when you tell somebody you're making tiramisu truffles, sounds fancy, it's not that hard to make. It takes a little bit of time, but you'll really impress your friends. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you'll come back and join us again next week. Like, share, and leave a comment and let us know how we're doing, and help us reach that 1,000 subscriber mark. And until next week, I hope you have a great day.